So last week I talked about delay consequences, which was kind of a story for one of my favorite parts of my campaign when I ran Strength of Thousands for 2.5 years. So to complement last week where I talked about one of my favorite moments, this week I'm going to talk about my least favorite moment from the campaign. And this is by a large margin. Like this is the worst session of the entire campaign we had, which I'm calling the Lich's Mirror. Now, kind of like with delay consequences, I try to do something really cool for one of the players. Because I was running a pre-made campaign, it doesn't leave a lot of opportunity for players to have individual moments. So I tried to create those, and that's what I kind of try to do with the results of the mirror, and it just did not work out very well. Um, and I know that the people that play in my weekly games watch these videos. For those of you specifically, I don't think we've ever really talked about this session, but I'm pretty sure everyone would agree it was the worst session. And I really am sorry that it just went so poorly. It did not go as planned. Um, so yeah, um, sorry. But for everyone else, these are minor spoilers for Book 5 of Strength of Thousands. This is going to be talking about an incident and a boss encounter. But again, this is probably one of the not very story important ones, so up to you. Also, I will be telling you about how to not have this problem in case you're wanting to run Strength of Thousands yourself. So, for this part of the adventure, the party is moving through a Lich's castle, trying to find the Lich and ultimately defeat them, to kind of help out this like colony of wizards that's living nearby. Admittedly, they were going through the castle pretty easily. Um, I don't think they probably took too much damage from all of the encounters. I know one of the fights was just trivialized. They literally just grappled an opponent and beat him up, and God, it was um, but when they finally get to the Lich's like domain, the highest tower in the castle, um, this point they're level 14, which is very important. But they're high level, they're arrogant because they've been doing so well. In this session, they also happen to be missing a party member, somebody who just couldn't make it that session. So instead of 5 players, they've got 4, which is what the book is really balanced around anyway. Regardless, they open the door to the Lich's room without doing any kind of scouting or clairvoyance, which they had the tools to do and just didn't use. And behind the Lich's door is a mirror. And this is pretty much a trap that swaps out a character for an evil version of themselves and traps them in this mirror dimension. Something that's really important to note here is that the description and the rules for the mirror are not very well done. Whichever writer made this mirror, they did a really poor job. Like, it just was bad. The other issue is that they put a trap right at like the start of the encounter. You literally open the door to where the Lich is, and there's a trap mirror. Now, the DC for this trap is pretty low, but if you play Dungeons and Dragons enough, you know that bad rolls happen. And that's kind of what just happened here, where the first person through the door saw the trap mirror, rolled really low. They get trapped in the mirror, which means they're not only taken out of the fight, there's now an evil version of them in front of the party, which is bad. So now the party is down 2 party members. Fight starts, wizard goes forward trying to do some stuff, doesn't really work out, and the Lich, just being a Lich, pretty much snaps their fingers and just kills the wizard of the party, or one of the wizards of the party. So now the party is down 3 out of 5 players. The Lich has somebody to fight with them, the evil version, and the party retreats. This did not go well. I think it kind of surprised most of the party because they had really just been doing so well. And they finally get to this fight, and they are defeated very quickly. It is a mess, but this is kind of the end of the session anyway. So we end with the players attempting a rescue mission. The idea is that the players are going to take a chance to get help. So one of the players is going to bring back a retired member of the party. Somebody else says, I had a character concept I wanted to try anyway, so they're going to join the party since my character won't be there. And it kind of works out pretty, like this is a pretty okay setup, where the party didn't TPK, but it's not good, but it's salvageable. Um, and here, up until this point, I would say the mistakes are the writers, because I ran this encounter just as the book said. Um, what I kind of mess up though is that I see this as an opportunity to do something cool with a single player of the party, the person who has an evil character. So I talked to the player about what would an evil version of your character look like? Like, what would they do? What would they be attempting? What would their goals be? And we talk about this, and I turned down pretty much all of their ideas, because like one of their ideas is like, I do this, and I'm like, oh, you don't know this, but that messes up the entire campaign, so I just say no. um, but one of the things they do is they have a short range, it's like a mile teleport to, and they pretty much like, I teleport to the area of the like mage settlement that needs our help, and tell them the party's been like TPK'd and all this stuff, and pretty much to turn the settlement of wizards against each other, right? So the next session starts, and instead of going to collect the new party members, the people that are still alive decide they're going to go to the settlement of mages to get help, which immediately kind of backfires the plan I sort of had set for them. But that's okay. We kind of roll with it. Um, and here's the really, I think the really bad problem that brought the vibes of the party like low, like below zero. Is that there's two survivors in the party, and I'm talking to one of them because he's got a like recording device, and he's like, I can use this recording device to show them what happened, and use this to try to tell them like, no, we're the good guys, this is the evil doppelganger, and convince them, whatever. So I'm working with them, which they end up getting a nat one on there to convince. It's bad. Um, the other problem, though, is that the other survivor of the party and the player who's playing the evil version of them, this was one of my mistakes, is I shouldn't have let them make any decisions for the evil character. I should have just taken control, and I didn't, because I was trying to give them something cool to do. Um, they're talking this out, kind of having their like RP argument, and they decide they're going to have a contested roll to decide who the like group of mages sides with. Um, the problem I have is that during this time, I'm working with another player on something while they're having their separate conversations, and the two of them decide to do a contested roll without actually asking me first. And I got really annoyed by this. I probably should have said something beforehand, and I didn't. I just kind of got really annoyed because I felt like I've kind of like lost my position of authority in this situation. So I just tell them after they're done, I'm like, I don't like, the role doesn't matter. This person is making roll. This is the person I've been playing with, and that's what set things really bad, because the other survivor member of the party would have won that role, and they thought things were okay, and they weren't. Um, so at this point, we decided to take an early break, let everyone cool off. And I kind of come to the decision in this moment, this isn't working as smoothly as I thought. Things are going really bad. I can tell the temperament of the party is just not really there. Remember, three of the party members are dead or captured or something, so they're not even getting to play at this point. So it's just not good for them either. Um, so I had these like other plans for them trying to go to like a different school of mages, maybe get help from them. I kind of just hand wave that at this point. I'm like, I need to get things back on track. I need to get the other players into this party. So I kind of just redirect them like, hey, why don't you go back to this town where the retired member of your party is? And you just pretty much can tell them like your friend is in trouble, and they will of course go to help. Um, this gets things back on track, and it's pretty good from there. I did a little more hand waving to kind of bring up the spirits of the adventure, because things, people are still, they feel down. It doesn't feel right from there. Um, so one of the things is the party comes back, and this is mostly a party of like casters. So they're just like, yeah, I cast Earthquake on this castle and bring it down. Now the book is like, this is like magically reinforced adamantine, like kind of, I don't care. At this point, I'm like, I need to let the party have their win. So they use like 2 earthquake spells or 3, I don't remember the exact number, to pretty much bring this castle down. So I just described the fight as the Lich is in their tower. Liches can fly, so he's just kind of standing there, amidst the rubble, and the fight starts. And the fight is actually over really, really quickly, which was a little bit disappointing for the players. I think that were like brought their retired party back. They didn't get to do a whole lot. Um, I did end up throwing the Lich a bunch of extra hit points though, just because one person who brought in the party that was brought into the party wanted to play a like anti-undead cleric with a lot of emphasis on a giant two-handed hammer, smite evil kind of thing. So I gave him some extra hit points. That way he at least got to do his combo before the Lich died. I let that feel pretty good. And then we kind of just hand waved the whole how do we get the evil doppelganger into the mirror and bring their party member back? We just kind of decided this is something the party can do since they're together and it's just one person against them. Um, yeah. And we end the session kind of recovering, but yeah, it was a mess. It was not a fun day. Um, so yeah, my kind of lessons learned from this. Ultimately, the fight should have never started with that mirror trap. Even if it was a low DC, that was a mistake on the writers to put that trap there. Um, yeah, and maybe I should have done something rather than just reading it from the book, but you kind of expect the people writing these adventure paths to know what they're doing, and they really sucked in that moment. Um, Everything else, though, I should have just planned the next session by myself. Rather than asking the player what an evil version does. The evil version isn't under their control. I should have just moved on with that. I had a few other ideas. Like maybe that could have just been in like ask the character for their character sheet and just had an encounter. The problem is Pathfinder is not built for PvP really, so it would have been a mess. But there's other things that could have been done to make it better. Um, Ultimately, like the delay consequences story, if you guys saw my video last week, I really did try to do something like cool for a player, given it was a pre-made adventure. And I tried to like lay little things for everyone every once in a while. Um, this didn't work out too well though, which it happens. It's a 2.5 year campaign. I shouldn't expect every session to go well, but this was by miles the worst session. And then finally, when the two players were kind of like having their conversation, and I'm working with another player on something, I should have told the rest of the party like we need to stop and focus up on one thing at a time. Um, I think ultimately the worst part of it was that the conversation went far enough that they did a contested roll. And then when I just said your contested roll doesn't matter because I didn't call for it, I think that just made everyone feel really bad that their rolls and what they had been talking about just kind of fell flat. Um, and maybe this would be a separate video for introspection, but I think that's one of the things I had trouble with throughout the entire campaign was maintaining control of the table and keeping people focused. Because even like towards the end of the campaign, I had problems trying to get everyone when like the session was starting, and we would start sessions like half an hour late because I just couldn't get people to focus. But that's something for me to work on. So yeah, this probably wasn't a good video now that I'm talking about it out loud because this is not positive. This is not good. But I hope you learned something from it. I certainly learned something from it. If anybody else has some like stories of like things in your campaigns that you thought would go really well and they just fell really flat, I would love to hear about it in the comments just so I'm not so depressed about my own failures there. Um, and if you liked us, leave a like and subscribe. Um, Given I've actually been gaining subscribers at a pretty good pace, but I'm like obviously still a small content creator. I would appreciate it. So if you could do both of those, that would be very cool of you. But yeah, that's it. Subscribe. I'll do more tabletop stuff. I'm going to continue this story series. I got a few more planned, but this was my negative story. That now that I've talked about it for a while, I feel really bad. I'm going to go eat a candy bar or something. I don't know and feel better. See you.